Welcome again to our frequent podcast called Wear Many Hats, inspired by Ethan Hawkey. Throughout the year, I, David Punter, the Business Development Director for Hawkey Cleaning and Support Services, shall be interviewing prominent FM and procurement subject matter experts across a range of industry market sectors. It is these people with their wealth of knowledge and experience that will inspire the next generation of professionals coming through the ranks. Our objective is to share our guest stories and experiences to help motivate, engage, and inspire others into the industry. Through Wear Many Hats podcast, we hope our listeners will gain new perspectives, insights, and learn about strategies to develop their careers in the FM procurement business. It gives me great pleasure today to introduce
Wesley Allvey.
And you're from?
JLL.
We are delighted to have you with us. So without further ado, this leads me into the first sort of set of questions. Wesley, do you prefer to be Wesley or Wes?
Yeah, Wes is fine.
Wes is fine, okay. Wes, so looking at your own personal journey, how was it that you entered into the facilities management sector?
As everyone else who's probably been on this podcast, I fell into it by accident. I wasn't actually aware what FM was when I was approached for a role. I, as most people, finished school, wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with my life. Went to college to do some A-levels, and my father had a construction company, and he kept bugging me to come to work for him. Obviously, I wanted to earn some money, so I decided to go and work for him and learn a trade. The trade was suspended ceilings, partitions, office fit-outs, much like the office where we are now. So I went and done that, learned a trade, sort of came into contracts management, worked my way up, and I was made redundant at one point. And
so your father made you redundant?
Well, yeah, this was later on in my career, not my father. This was another role. And the client we were working for at the time really liked me, and within about half an hour I had a phone call and was offered a role in FM. And FM at that time was a very broad subject. You know, it could be from the post room to what FM is now.
Okay.
So obviously I Googled what FM was at that point. And I took the role. So that's sort of the beginnings of how I got here.
So your first role, would you say in FM was, who was that with?
That was with Property Serve.
Okay. And you were with them for quite a lengthy period of time, sort of cutting your teeth for well over 7 years plus.
Yeah, it was a great small company when I joined. We had sort of 10 managed properties. I think when I left there, we were up to about 100 managed properties.
Okay.
And I went from FM to senior FM to head of FM. So I went through various roles there, and, you know, that's where I really learnt the skills of FM and started to bring people through, junior FMs and senior FMs alike. Okay.
And was that a national role, or was it just London-centric?
No, at some point, I was head of FM nationally. Our client's office was in London and Harrogate, so I was doing a lot of travelling around the country, which was great at that time in my life. Obviously, once you have kids and settle down a bit, it's not such a good job.
And after that, where did you go after leaving Property Serve?
So after Property Serve, I went to Derwent London with Mac, who you had on previously.
Yes, our other podcaster.
So I went into an senior operations role at Derwent, obviously client side. So there was a lot of, we were the client, we were developing, designing the buildings, and then we were managing them as well. Which was quite an interesting role, but being client side can sometimes not be as exciting if you haven't got a client to please in some ways.
Okay. And after that, when you left Derwent London, you went to, I understand, MJ Map?
Yes, MJ Map, now MAP. At the time, I was regional director there, had a team of around 10 FMs, 200 properties in the south and London.
Okay.
A lot of nice prime office buildings, a lot of industrial. So that was a really good time in my life. I'm still in contact with all of my FM team there, some of which are trying to invite me out tonight, but sadly I won't be making it.
Well, I'm sure they'll be listening. And after that, you then went to Baltimore.
Yeah.
For a short period of time, and then you're now at JLL.
Yeah, so Baltimore was my first residential job. I was in charge of 11,500 homes. Going from commercial to residential is quite a jump and quite a difference.
Did you like it?
No,
Okay.
I won't be going back to residential. That was my one residential stint. You're dealing with people's homes and emotions, and that's completely different to dealing with commercial property. There's no good time in residential to carry out any works or any projects. And this was very high-end residential. So, first world problems.
I feel your pain. So what is it now that you like about your facilities management role?
So JLL, I've just been there 6 weeks now. So I'm group lead FM director on the Aviva account.
Okay.
So I manage the whole of the Aviva. I'm 100% dedicated to that. I love FM. I love that every day is different. I love the team and building FM teams and bringing people through the industry. Obviously now I'm a fellowship of the IWFM. And last year I was made fellow, which is the highest accolade in IWFM, which was really good for me.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And and so now, my job is to inspire the next generation, build teams and bring people through into FM.
Well, it is for that reason, Wes, that we're delighted to have you and to interview about this. So basically you're working specifically in the facilities management with managing as a managing agent in that capacity. What do you think that this sector has unique areas in the FM field that are sector specific?
So I work on various accounts. So the client has, shopping centres, retail, industrial, and office.
Okay.
So at the minute, the office sector is still recovering in some ways. Industrial is going crazy.
Is it?
It's a place to be at the moment, I believe, for most investors. And, retail has been struggling. I think it's making a comeback after COVID, but that's kind of where the different sectors are now.
Okay. And obviously the office sector has had to kind of pivot from coming out of the COVID pandemic situation with people doing a lot more hybrid working. Have you seen any changes in that?
No, hybrid is still the preferred option for everyone following COVID. There's obviously the utility markets where, certain areas such as help desks where you have maybe younger people, they prefer to be in the office.
Okay.
They companies are now bringing in food and different things to get people back to the offices so that, you don't have to
make them attractive workspaces.
Yeah, you don't have to turn on your heating. You don't have to bring in your lunch. It's all these little small perks.
And you can even bring your dog.
Yeah, exactly. There's lots of dogs actually around the offices at the moment. But
there is.
Yeah, there's lots of initiatives to bring people back to the office space. And I think there's certain roles you can do as a hybrid. If you're a building manager, it's one of those things, you are a building manager and you have to be on site every day. So, I think there's always a disparity between what people think they can do from home and what they actually can. Okay.
And if I was to sort of ask you, which skills are required to do your job?
Wow, that's a big,
very broad one.
Very broad question. I always say that you can't teach personality, and you might edit out afterwards. But you need to be a people person. You need to be able to speak to people. You need to be agile. And you need to be able to think of more than one way to solve a problem, and that's a big piece of FM. Just because there's a piece of kit in a building that's broken doesn't mean you should replace that piece like for like. And with carbon net zero, especially, there's boilers. If a boiler goes down nowadays, you're not going to change it for another gas boiler. So you need to have to think outside the box. You need to be very organised, and pretty much work from anywhere is what I say. I'm not fussed where my team are. I know if they're working or if they're not working, and they can work from anywhere they want to work from.
So you would say that one of the skills or a trait rather than an acquired skill, is actually having a personality.
Yeah. You need to be able to speak to people on various levels, from cleaning all the way up to CEOs of companies that aren't happy with certain services, and everywhere in between that.
Okay. So, Wes, what would you say? And I know you're going to sort of say, every day's a different day. But what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, I suppose there's two kinds of days for me. Obviously, the working from home day, which is a lot more structured. I'll get up, I'll do some emails, and I'll actually take some time out and walk the kids to school, come back, and then sort of start work around 8:30. Emails, any piece of project work that I can do at home where I'm not being disturbed by being in an office and people coming up to me. And then there's the office days, which I go in. It's quite collaborative. And then there's the days like today where I'm traipsing around London doing 20,000 steps, looking at different buildings. I like to always keep in with the FMs because I don't want to lose touch of what FM is. So in my previous roles, I would also have my own buildings I would manage, one or two.
Okay.
Just to keep my hand in and to know the contractors and to almost shadow some of the FMs and bring them through some of the junior people and guide them.
So you have kind of three typical days, I think I counted there.
Yeah.
Your structured one, your collaborative, possibly chaos office day, and then you're going out and meeting and greeting and the personality day.
Yeah. And some networking normally on that day.
Okay. And and what do you prefer out of those days?
I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I prefer being out there actually physically looking at the sites and how they present and what the customer experience is, because I know that's high on the client's agenda.
Okay.
And so I like it at the minute that in my role, because I'm fairly new, nobody knows who I am when I walk into a building, which won't last for long, but it's quite nice that you can see that building from a customer or a member of public from the street.
I agree. So kind of like you're the visitor getting the visitor experience on your sites.
Almost a mystery shopper, if you want.
Until the honeymoon period goes over.
Yeah.
What would you say, Wes, to someone by way of advice if they were starting their career off in facilities management?
Strangely enough, my 12-year-old daughter is very interested in health and safety and facilities management.
Gosh,
which is
recruiting already.
Yeah, which is a shock. I would say, obviously, you've got the IWFM, which is great for everyone starting out, the various courses. There's now degrees out there within facilities management. I would say look to the future of facilities management, which would be the AI, sustainability, health and safety areas. And I think they're kind of key to start out in one of them. If you wanted to start in business administration, you could. A lot of the assistant FMs I've ever brought through have come from site level, have been receptionists, building managers, coming through into AFMs and then building themselves up. And we've done a lot of that at Derwent and a lot of that at MAP, and they were very good for that. So, it's becoming a renowned trade and people are going and studying it, whereas back when we started out, we didn't set out to go into FM.
I would agree. It is an evolving sector. But also, I just wanted to ask you, is that you've only had a short period of time with JLL. Are you starting to identify people that you need or would like to mentor in that organisation?
Yes. Yeah, there's the FMs definitely look to me for advice.
Okay.
So I'm helping them to guide them in different routes and look. Sometimes when you have a building for a long time, you don't see past it and you see different things. And I would see different things that you would see when you walked into the same building. So it all depends on your background. So yeah, there's lots of work to do, but there's some really good characters and,
You've got a good team.
Yes, definitely, yes.
Fantastic. So looking specifically at facilities management solely, has the way facilities management procurement changed over the years?
Yes, it's changed a lot. It's from the old days of, I don't want to say it, but getting the cheapest and expecting the best, to now, looking at service partners rather than us and contractors. We're all about service partners, having fewer service partners for longer term contracts.
Okay.
And delivering some of your ESG and your social values via your contractors. I mean, the weighting of ESG in procurement now is huge. And I know currently where I am, it's amounts to nearly 30% of the tender process.
Okay.
Which is massive, and you can only deliver ESG. You can deliver a certain amount yourself, but you need to deliver some through your supply chain as well, such as a social value, employing local workers,
and paying good wages, of course.
Of course, with paying good wages, yeah. And also using your supply chain for CPD. Obviously, your supply chain are the experts in the matter. So, using them in the right way and asking them to, if there's an industry update, asking them to provide it to your FM team. And,
okay.
And I find that a great way to become one and work as one.
Okay, thank you for that. And with the advent of online meetings through either Zoom, Teams, or other means, do you think that this has affected the way strong partnerships with suppliers can be fostered?
I don't think it has. I think I've always had the same supply chain pretty much now, and it's a small industry that I've worked with for 10 years through COVID without our supply chain and service partners. As FMs, we wouldn't have got through it. You were the guys out there doing the jobs, still on the ground. Obviously, we had to communicate in different ways, and people were using Teams. I think people now are shying away a bit from Teams sometimes and not wanting to put their cameras on, and I think that kind of defeats all of the object of Teams. It's a great tool, but face-to-face is coming back, and events and networking is definitely on the rise again. And we're doing a lot of service partners such as cleaning, etc. We have 2 or 3, 4 cleaning companies, and they're all coming together to do CPD events to see how they can actually collaborate across the portfolio, as in, do they use the same suppliers to buy their materials?
Okay. For
the client, is there anything they can do as 4 separate entities to make the client's experience better?
Yes, I think I'm inclined to agree with you. I think a team still has its part to play. I'm yet to decide and work out how to do background changes and stuff like that on my teams, but because I do tend to see rather a lot of Teams people there with their washing hanging up in the background or something like that.
Yeah, so, I noticed that as well, yeah.
Or in their sort of spare bedroom or something like that. So moving on, what is the next big thing in procurement for facilities management services that suppliers, such as Hawkey Cleaning and Support Services, need to look out for?
I think as I mentioned before, the ESG part is huge. The weighting of it is huge.
Okay.
The delivery, I don't believe that it's now all about cost. Cost is a factor. We know service charges are tight with utility costs, etc.
Yeah.
But it's the longevity of the contract, the buy-in from the client and from the managing agent. They're instructing. We're looking. The RICS code currently is a 5+2 contract.
Yes,
which is a huge contract to give to someone. But if you can buy someone in for that long, they know it's a partnership.
Yes.
They can invest in it. It's not like you're going to have a contract for a year and not know if you've got year 2.
Well, it's longer than a government term, isn't it?
Yeah,
so.
Which is easy in commercial, but residential, obviously, you've got Section 20, which makes that a lot more difficult. So in commercial world, we're looking at 5+2.
Okay.
And long-term relationships.
Okay. And that brings me on, really. I mean, how important are EDI issues affecting today's FM procurement decisions?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's huge. It's 30%. JLL have a great EDI strategy that they've laid out, which covers all aspects of it. Our PPO or procurement department handle a lot of that. Obviously, the social part of it is huge at the minute. Not many people focus on the social part. You've
Correct.
got big buildings. You're building new properties. You're affecting communities, local schools. Displacement of people by the building that you're building. So it's key that you then employ local people and you regenerate those areas with placemaking and whatever you can do.
Okay. And how important are sustainability issues with suppliers that you work with?
So again, that's huge. Our clients have carbon net zero targets. So we all need to pull together. We can obviously do projects to meet those requirements, but it comes all the way back to who you're employing, where they're buying the materials, where they're dumping their waste. It's a vast topic.
Do you think JLL are just giving lip service to that at the moment?
No, I don't, not at all. No, they stand by their values, and everyone within the business is made to buy into those. And certain training goes on around that. There are events that go on, to really push this matter home. You need different people from all different walks of life to make a company like JLL work, especially a global company.
And is JLL looking at trying to get some sort of awards, accreditation in that area from independent means?
I'm sure they will be. Obviously, I'm only 6 weeks in, so I can't really speak on that subject.
Okay. I won't put you on the spot on it. I was
Thank
just wondering whether they were looking at organisations like B Corp and that sort of down that vein.
I imagine they are. Obviously, when I was at MAP turned into a first B Corp property company.
Okay, didn't know that.
Yeah, which was really good accolade for them to have, and I believe they're still one of the only sort of property companies to have that.
Are they?
Yeah, so I was part of the team when we were getting that. So there's lots of criteria to match, which on a global scale would be very difficult, I would imagine.
Exactly. I mean, even for Hawkey Cleaning and Support Services that are going through that verification process now with B Corp, we are finding it interesting and challenging, but I think we hope to make movement on that. But I imagine as a global organisation, there's a lot of buy-in.
I remember the question set well, yes. And it's very detailed.
So now moving on a little bit about you personally, is that, what's your biggest regret in your career to date?
Oh, I know everyone says the same thing. There are no regrets. There's some moves that, looking back in hindsight, I wish I hadn't moved to various companies.
But sometimes you have to realise that perhaps you didn't want to go into residential, for example.
Exactly, and those are the moves that got me to where I am now. So, although some things may have seemed like a bad idea at the time, I probably wouldn't be where I am now.
Yeah.
So,
any other regrets?
Probably that I didn't start in FM earlier.
Okay, a lot of people have said that.
Yeah, but it wasn't really, like I say, I didn't know much about it at the time. It wasn't so recognised as it is now, but... I do wish I had saved my back and my carrying of plasterboards and tools and, watching my dad do all of that and, wishing that I had an office job.
Well, I'm inclined to agree with you. I was brought up on a farm, so, it was the same thing. Probably would have saved my back too.
Yeah.
So what's your, on the sort of plus side, what's your biggest achievement in your career to date?
I mentioned it earlier, but definitely getting the fellowship for IWFM.
Okay.
I've been trying for that for a long time. I've been at member level for many years, and I've done a lot for the industry, and that's about recognising your achievements within the FM industry, and there was a very detailed process to go through.
Really?
For that, and a lot.
Were you put forward by an organisation or...?
No, I applied myself. I know people within the IWFM as well who helped me to get that. But, it was a long process. I sent my forms off. They rejected me, sent them back, said I wasn't detailed enough. It's very hard to write 10,000 words about yourself without sounding quite arrogant. So I wrote it again. It got accepted, and I was one. I didn't realise at the time I was one of only a handful of people last year that was internationally that was given the IW fellowship to IWFM.
Do you think that made an influence on your movement in your career to JLL?
I was suddenly hit with a lot of opportunities.
Okay, so for our listeners, something to certainly getting those awards, badges and recognition certainly does help to springboard your career.
Yeah, and it's a recognised process of going through IWFM, starting as an associate or affiliate, going through the different levels as your career evolves, and then sort of finally getting to the pinnacle I feel like my career has almost been backwards. I'm looking to go and do a master's degree in October in facilities management. I wasn't great at school. I wasn't academic, but over the years I've done lots of courses and got to where I am now. But almost the icing on the cake is to go back and finish what I started.
So, okay, I mean, you're a very young man, but I'm just looking at the end game in your career.
Yeah.
Would you use that master's to put something back into the industry as a sort of?
Yeah, definitely, and that was part of the fellowship. I'm now sitting on sort of the board level at IWFM, shaping the way that the IWFM is, and bringing in mentoring is one of the new things that's coming in, and buddying up with maybe a fellow, someone coming through the industry could buddy up and come to you for advice, whether that's online or face-to-face. But yeah, the ultimate goal is to give it all back and not to work till 65 and be out by 55.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. So what's in things in life now? It could be work or leisure that gives you the greatest satisfaction and enjoyment.
I got a cat during the lockdown, or should I say my children got cats? I don't really like cats. But,
you got one cat or two?
One.
Okay.
So as part of the process of buying a Russian blue cat, I said they could have a cat if I could name it. And I named the cat Tequila after my favourite drink. But one of my favourite things is living where I live. I live by the sea. And so, I live in an apartment with a shared garden, but our garden is really the beach. So, when I come home in the summer, 7, 8 o'clock at night, we go down the beach, we'll have a barbecue, we'll swim. It's the greatest place to live in the summer. It's probably the worst place to live in the winter. But, that's kind of one of my passions. I've got 3 young girls, 6, 9 and 12. So they're all...
A young family.
Yeah, so they're all at school, but I love spending time with them. And, this job gives me the flexibility to have a home life as well as a work life.
And that's important to you?
Very important, yes.
And, does Tequila come out... in the beach and stuff like that?
No, she's a house cat. I do take Tequila to the beach, but not in the cat form.
I didn't want to call her what her surname is, a tequila slammer or something like that, but I'll let our listeners interject with that sort of comment. But no, that's at least you had the option of calling the cat a name that's of something that's very dear to you.
Yeah. Also, the kids. We have a house in Poland. My wife's Polish, so the kids spend their summers away in Poland, which is great. So I do get some downtime every year as well.
Fantastic. Well, Wes, that brings us to the end of our 11th episode of Wear Many Hats. We hope our listeners have found this interesting. We'd like to thank Wesley for taking the chair today. It's been, I think, both thought-provoking, engaging, and we welcome our listeners' comments and feedback for when this is published. Thank you once again, Wesley.
Thank you.